The U.S. has brought together more than 40 countries to combat the threat of ISIS, and they also plan to arm literally thousands of Syrian rebels. Well, ISIS is not going to take that sitting down in their tent or their cave. And so they have come out with a 42-minute-long audio statement about what they think Muslims abroad should do to any country that gets involved in this coalition with the United States. So here are some excerpts. Ahead of time, a little warning, this is violent rhetoric. O believer, do not let this battle pass you by wherever you may be. You must strike the soldiers, patrons, and troops of the tyrants. Strike their police, security, and intelligence members.
I guess. So
good luck getting near the CIA.
Patrons, that's us.
I think
right?
so. I think it's the monetary supporters. I don't give much money to politicians, really.
Yeah, okay,
like
but I mean,
$5 to Obama,
but basically
I
they're saying, the way I read this was kill any foreigner who's part of this.
Who supports the system.
Part of the
coalition
that the president's trying to put together.
Yeah, and it gets more explicit in terms of the international focus and also the civilian focus. So the right wing's going to love this part. If you can kill a disbelieving American or European, especially the spiteful and filthy French, or an Australian, or a Canadian, or any other disbeliever from the disbelievers waging war, including the citizens of the countries that joined a coalition against the Islamic State, then rely upon Allah and kill him in any manner or way, however it may be.
I mean, that is an incredibly poorly written sentence. Just from a straight
run on after run on.
Journalism point of view, you lose your focus. As always, the French are like,
what did we do?
Well, like, I mean, what they did is they're conducting the bombing raids right now.
Yeah,
the bombing.
So you can understand why ISIS would be peeved with them. But yeah, like I'm sorry, if you want to keep the citizens in Syria and Iraq under your control, like you need to be able to like keep the power going and everything, but you also need to put together a sentence, you know, a proper grammatically correct sentence.
The Syrians, the Syrians are fuss budgets for grammar. I don't know what that meant. Quickly, let me just say that you mentioned the right wing. The right wing is going to be plagued by this, because go to the first part of that first one again, the one that mentions the French, if you could, because of course the right wing, they have long loved to make fun of the French, but here are the French right there. It's being singled out above us for taking on ISIS. You can kill a disbelieving American or European, especially the spiteful and filthy French. Sean Hannity's going to be like, how do I make fun of the French when ISIS hates the French this much?
France's interior minister has, of course, responded to these threats from ISIS. By the way, it's the Islamic State group spokesman Abu Muhammad al-Adnani, beating out many others for that job. And that interior minister says, this threat to kill civilians, added to the execution of hostages and to the massacres, is yet another demonstration of the barbarism of these terrorists, justifying our fight without truce or pause. France is not afraid because it is prepared to respond to these threats.
That's a well-written sentence.
Yeah, so you can get behind that.
Exactly.
But yeah, of course, as we said, France is one of the, I guess, premier members of the coalition to fight ISIS. They are working right now to bomb their flying missions against ISIS. Now, I alluded to earlier in this story that we are going to be arming at least 5,000, arming and training 5,000 Syrian rebels. In regards to those who would fight in Syria alongside the Americans, the actual Syrians, this is what that spokesman said. Jihadis will make them dig their graves with their own hands and have their heads cut off and homes destroyed. So yeah, I mean, insult to injury. You've already had your hands and your head cut off. Now they're also going to plow down your house. But yeah, I mean, so look, they can threaten us all they want. And certainly they're going to try to get some ISIS fighters who have returned to countries to do something. But I think that it is more important from their point of view strategically to scare away anyone in Iraq or Syria who could join up and fight against ISIS there. I think that that's their main goal here.
So mostly their concern, you think, is to keep people from joining up the 5,000?
Yeah, they don't want public opposition or popular opposition to them in those countries they're currently inhabiting.
I am really curious to see how this plays out, because there is something, even Rand Paul, who is inconsistent at best when it comes to foreign policy, but is getting away with it right now because libertarians are so excited by the potential of him. Even Cenk has been caught up in the Rand Paul swoon, which is just insane.
Did he say he would be elected?
I don't know, but Rand Paul's
he's a
nut job and a bad guy, and considering a vote for him is a bit as foolish, bad for America. But go ahead, be my guest. A guy like that, one thing that was very honest of him to admit, in part while explaining the fact that he is okay with this bombing campaign, with this war, is that it's really hard not to get caught up in reacting to the videos.
Yeah.
And not just the videos of the two American journalists who are doing the exact kind of work that we
we
repeat
need done.
and that sustains this program. We're not there. We're not doing it. They're doing it, and we talk about it. And these guys did that, and they were killed doing it, and it's impossible not to react to that, and then to see the other horrible acts of violence they're committing. And yes, they are not the only people to commit acts of brutal terror on the ground in the Middle East over the last few years, but they're the worst. They win. It's okay to rank them. They're the winners. They're the worst. They're terrible. So you get and you see what they do to any because again, we like to operate. We used to in this country. You capture somebody, that's it, right? But they don't have prisons. They got nowhere to put them. They can't just. They'll turn them loose and they'll have to fight them again. That's their way of thinking. But they want to scare us. And Rand Paul said that he saw those videos and it's impossible not to react to it. And by the same token, it is very hard, even if you think, I don't know that we should be bombing these people. And that is literally my position. Not we shouldn't be, but I don't know whether we should be. And I know I know it can go wrong, and I know that it must not last. Like I pray that, hey, can 9 weeks of this really damage them so that other people can finish this off? Probably not. But you read stuff like that and you think, let's go get those guys. Who talks that way?
You're talking about Abu al-Mahdi?
Yeah.
I don't know. Look. I don't like at any time for terrorists to be sort of echoing the same idea I've expressed. But for those of us who do not think, as is popular amongst conservative politicians, to think that they want to attack us because we're American or because we have nice trees or whatever they want to say, totally devoid of any connection to what we've done there. I mean, they're saying we are going to attack civilians in whatever country comes after us. They're laying it out very clearly. Back in the days of Al-Qaeda, they were very clear. If you do X, Y, and Z, we're going to launch attacks against their country. Then they did that. This guy is saying ISIS is going to attack you, not because of your freedoms, but if you engage militarily with ISIS. That doesn't mean we shouldn't do it if we think that this is a long-term threat to the stability of an entire region, but it does make clear that if there are consequences, we were forewarned of those consequences.
Yeah, right. I mean, that's one thing you have to respect.
It's an incredibly difficult situation.
Yeah, it's an incredibly difficult situation, but there's none of this nonsense talk about attacking us for our freedoms.
Yeah.
Right, attacking us because of our materialism and the glut of our movies that have ruined culture. No, man, they're like, no,
high fructose corn syrup.
You're dropping bombs on us. I mean, these guys did not threaten to attack us. I don't think they were a threat to attack us. I'm incredibly dubious as to how many of these guys there are. However, if I'm correct about that part, then bombing them might work.
If there's not a lot, you're saying.
Right. So
I believe the estimate's more.
Or it might add to their ranks. I don't know, man.
It's not a finite number.
It's a tough. It's a tough. I don't know, and at least I'm comfortable saying I don't know.
Yeah. Final point I want to make.
Last thing though, sorry, but I suppose if you don't know, don't bomb.
Yeah.
If you're going to bomb,
you should be sure.
You got to bomb, you should be sure.
Yeah, it's like the police. Don't throw a grenade into a nursery if you're not sure if there's a kid there.
And what bothers me is that the indications are, from what you read, the administrations, they're not sure either. They don't know, and there's certainly not a consensus. There was a split, and there's a split among conservatives, and there's a split among liberals, and there's a split among, I don't care what fools think of it, but smart people are conflicted as to what to do here. And that suggests to me that maybe nothing right now, but that's not what we're doing.
And look, we can't forget that it seemed the Obama administration was making pretty clear, I think, that they wanted to spend weeks or months seriously considering the long-term ramifications of military and economic action against ISIS. But it was the media and the Republican Party that hammered him every single day. You don't have a plan. What's your plan? And so now they've come out with a plan, and now we all have to live with the consequences, both in terms of American service members killed and billions of dollars spent. He was forced into action. It doesn't mean he should have bowed to the pressure, but he did. But one other thing I do want to talk about is the Obama administration has finally confirmed that there are Americans who fought for ISIS that have since returned to the United States, and they're being watched by the FBI. This is a senior administration official who said it includes, talking about that group, the over 100, it includes those who've gone, those who've tried to go, some who've come back and are under active. The FBI is looking at them. These are FBI matters. I refer to you to them on the specifics.
What I like about that quote is it's a suggestion of a guy who did not want to use the term surveillance. for whatever Edward
Under
Snowden
active
active. The FBI is looking at him, investigating the way a responsible law enforcement agency would.
And the National Counterterrorism Center believes that 15,000 fighters from 80 different countries have tried to fight in Iraq and Syria, including 2,000 Europeans and more than 100 Americans. So just bear that all in mind. Incredibly dirty, messy situation.